Welcome, my friends, to a place where we share inspiration and positivity. Hello and a warm welcome to our channel. Today, we're delving into The Non-Stop Flight. The Non-Stop Flight is a 1926 American silent melodrama directed by Emory Johnson. HBO released the film in March 1926. The film's all-star cast included Knute, Erickson and Marcella Daly. Emilie Johnson, Johnson's mother, wrote both the story and screenplay. Was the eighth and final film in Johnson's 8-picture contract with HBO. The film's inspiration was the 1925 U.S. Navy's attempt to fly 3 twin-engine open-cockpit seaplanes non-stop between San Francisco, California, and Hawaii. One plane, PN-9 No. 2, dropped out before the flight started. The second PN-9 No. 3 traveled only 300 miles before being forced to land because of mechanical problems. The remaining PN-9 No. 1 flew 1,800 miles before running into rain squalls and the failure of an anticipated tailwind to materialize. PN-9 No. 1 was off course and unable to locate a refueling ship. With their fuel supply running low, they made an emergency landing on the ocean. Trapped at sea, the crew built a sail from wing fabric and set out for Hawaii. The U.S. Navy rescues the beleaguered crew 9 days later. Even though the flight fell short of its goal, their harrowing adventures captured the imagination and newspaper headlines of the day. Emilie Johnson built her story around a Swedish ship's captain Lars Larsen. While he is away at sea, a jealous rival kidnaps his pregnant wife, Anna, and they set sail on his ship. When Larsen returns home, he finds Anna missing and their cottage abandoned. He becomes inconsolable, and he turned to a life of crime. He becomes the captain of a tramp steamer smuggling illicit cargo to Mexico. While sailing in the Pacific, his crew discovers an uncharted island. A hermit and a beautiful young woman inhabit the island and are waving a distress flag. A desperate seaplane crew are searching for land and catch sight of the same island. After some discussion, the captain rescues all the island inhabitants and brings them aboard his ship. Once the evacuees are aboard, nefarious circumstances unfold. A free-for-all ensues, with the naval men helping to suppress the riot. The U.S. Navy arrives, a naval officer charms the young women, and all ends well. In this chapter, we'll be shedding light on plot and its role in shaping our understanding. In spring 1906, Captain Lars Larsen and his wife, Anna, live in a modest cottage nestled in the harbour town of Laholm set on the western edge of Sweden. Anna is expecting their first child. Lars is packing his sea bag for his upcoming sea journey. After Lars finishes packing, they leave the house hand in hand and walk to the pier. After exchanging goodbyes, Lars remembers a gift he bought for Anna. He gives her a necklace with a cross attached and Lars engraved on the crossbeam. He kisses her, then departs. We see a man to the side following the loving exchanges with visible disdain. Our mystery man is Karl Kruger, skipper of the steamboat Gretchen. Karl was a former suitor for Anna's affection. After Lars sets sail, Karl creeps into Larsen's cottage and surprises Anna. He tries to have his way, but Anna resists. A frustrated Karl shows a hidden note. "Dear Karl, I have found the man I love the most, please forget me." This note is the original Anna sent Karl after breaking off their earlier relationship. Karl takes the letter and rips off the part that says "Dear Karl." He sticks the remaining piece into a nearby book. Anna screams when she realizes the consequences of Karl's deceit. Lars will believe she has left him for another man. Kruger kidnaps Anna and forces her to board the Gretchen. The boat casts off and heads out to sea. Captain Larsen returns home and finds their home in shambles. Lars discovers the book containing Anna's note. After reading the message, he sobs and then torches the house. Fueled by extreme bitterness, Lars transforms into a drunken ne'er-do-well and becomes a smuggler. We shift to 1925. The United States Navy is attempting the first non-stop flight between San Francisco to Hawaii with 3 seaplanes. The lead plane will be the PN-9, commanded by Roger Davis, with Lieutenant Jack Connell second in command. Amidst much fanfare, the seaplanes leave for Hawaii. The PN-9 is 8 hours into their historic flight. They somehow run into a violent storm. Blown off course and low on fuel, the crew makes a forced ocean landing. After drifting for 6 days, they come upon an island. The crew reconnoiters for food. Years passed, and Lars Larsen is the captain of a tramp steamer smuggling Chinese laborers to Veracruz. Our wing is in charge of the captive workers, an opium smuggler, and the man responsible for paying Captain Larsen. Our wing approaches the captain and states he will pay $2,000 if Larsen alters course so Wing can find a young female concubine. Larsen agrees to keep a lookout. Captain Larsen's boat stumbles across the same island and starts a reconnaissance. Along with our wing, the captain sees an older man and a young girl waving a distress flag. Wing tells Larsen he wants the girl, and Larsen agrees to dock the boat. The ship launches a dinghy to pick up the girl, Hermit, and the seaplane crew. After they load the passengers, the vessel embarks. Soon, they run into a powerful storm. During the storm, Wing visits the captain's quarters and pays Larsen the money to the girl. Wing heads toward the girl's cabin to collect his prize. The girl, Maria, seeing what Wing has in mind, flees to the captain's cabin. Marie pleads with Larsen to protect her. Larsen refuses, and Wing pursues the terrified woman. Lieutenant Jack Connell hears Maria's screams and rushes to her rescue. During the ensuing fight, Connell is knocked out. Our Wing grabs Maria and escapes the captain's quarters. After Wing leaves, Lars spots the necklace lying on the floor. He picks up the trinket and realizes it is the exact necklace he gave to his beloved Anna. The hermit enters the cabin, and Captain Lars presses him about the source of the necklace. The hermit describes the day that Karl Kruger kidnapped the pregnant Anna. After Kruger's ship sailed off with Anna, the boat ran into a squall. The vessel sinks with all hands except for Anna and the first mate. They made their way to the island. The baby was born, and Anna died. Lars realizes that Maria is his daughter. Maria flees to the arms of the lieutenant, and they both leave the room. Upon realizing that Maria is his daughter, Lars grabs his gun and heads to our Wing's cabin. During the confrontation, our Wing flees the cabin and heads below the ship. Our Wing releases the Chinese prisoners, instructing them to take over the ship. Lieutenant Connell rushes the crew, and fighting breaks out everywhere. Even though outnumbered, the ship's crew and naval crew continue the fight. A Pacific fleet dispatched a submarine to hunt for the missing seaplanes. The submarine submerged to avoid the storm. While searching, they see the fracas on board Larsen's boat and decide to help. After the submarine surfaces, she takes on water. The crew boards the steamer before losing the sub and helps defeat the rebellion. The Chinese laborers are subdued and returned to the. Larsen tracks down our Wing and shoots him. He returns to his quarters to find the hermit telling Maria the captain is her father. Maria smiles and calls Lars Daddy. Sometime later, the repaired seaplane lands in the San Francisco harbor. The crowds are cheering. Captain Lars and his daughter are on shore, welcoming the naval crew home. In the next segment, we'll be exploring caste and its implications for our subject matter. Actor role Knute Erickson, Lars Larsen, Marcella Daly, Anna Larsen, Lars' wife David Dunbar, Karl Kruger, skipper of the Gretchen, Frank Emphill, Jen Johnson, James Wang, Wing, Harlan Hilton, Commander Roger Davis, Cecil Ogden, Lieutenant Jack Connell, pilots Cars Ralph Pope, navigation pilot Otto G. Stantz, Otis Stantz, chief radio operator Robert Anderson, Nuts Swanson, James Rolfe Jr. himself, mayor of San Francisco, Virginia, Marie Larsen, William Sunderholm, Sang Hop, servant of Wing, Peggy O'Neill, Alden Nelson, Toshio Ichioka, extra uncredited. Toshio Mori was born Toshio Ichioka in 1912 and first appeared in several Japanese and Hollywood silent films. This film was her first role in an American silent film. She was 14 years old, and her role was uncredited. With her distinctly Asian looks and bangs, she played exotic Asian females in silent films and talkies. In 1932, Mori became the only non-Caucasian actress selected as a WAMPAS Baby Star an annual list of young and promising film actresses. She dropped out of the movies in 1937. Let's transition to pre-production and uncover its significance. FBO mainly specialized in the production and distribution of low-budget films. These films were distributed to smaller venues throughout the United States. The average cost per production was $50,000 to $75,000 equivalent to in 2019. FBO also produced and distributed a limited number of big-budget features labeled Gold Bond productions. In 1926, FBO had 12 Gold Bond productions, including the non-stop flight. In the next portion, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of development and examining its broader implications. The 1925 attempt by the United States Navy to fly 3 seaplanes, non-stop, between San Pablo, California and Hawaii provided motivation for the Emilie Johnson story. Despite the flight's failure to reach Hawaii, one seaplane, PN9 No. 1 Zeta-class Celsius seaplane record for non-stop miles flown over the Pacific Ocean. That record would stand for 5 years. The September flight created quite a sensation, grabbing newspaper headlines around the world. PN901 was an open-cockpit naval seaplane captained by U.S. Navy Commander John Rodgers. The plane departed San Pablo, California's calm waters, on August 31, 1925. On September 1, the flying boat had flown 1,841 miles. With its fuel supply running low, the crew made a forced landing on the ocean, leaving the craft 450 miles short of its goal. The desperate crew rigged a sail from the fabric on the plane's wing and set sail for Hawaii, believing this gave them the best odds of recovery. At 1600 on September 10, 1925, 9 days into their adventure, a submarine USS Arthur recovered the crew. A 5-person naval crew piloted the twin-engine PN901 seaplane. Commander John Rodgers, Lieutenant Byron J. Connell, aviation machinist mate First Class William M. Bolin, Chief Radioman Petty Officer First Class Otis G. Stant, Chief Petty Officer Scales Ralph Pope. In this chapter, we'll be unraveling the enigma of casting and discovering its transformative power. Knute Erickson, 18,731,945, was born Knute on May 27, 1873, in Norrköping, Sweden. Erickson was years old when he portrayed the character of Sea Captain Lars Larsen. Erickson migrated to the United States with his parents in 1881. They stayed in Salt Lake City, Utah, and kept living there until 1916. Erickson achieved naturalization on June 10, 1887, and launched a lucrative career as a vaudevillian comedian. His most famous stage creation was that of the character Swedish immigrant Daffy Dan. Erickson began his film career in 1915 and kept appearing in films until 1936. Erickson's role in this film impressed Emory Johnson enough. He cast Erickson in his next movie, The Fourth Commandment. Marcella Daly, 19,011,966, was born on January 31, 1901, in Kansas City, Missouri. Daly was years old when she portrayed the character of Anna Larsen, Lars' wife. She was an actress, known for Accused 1925, The Midnight Watch 1927, and Black Paradise 1926. She died on 30 July 1966 in Torrance, California, United States of America. David Dunbar, 18,861,953, was born on September 14, 1886, in West Maitland, New South Wales, Australia. The Australian actor was years old when he portrayed the character of Carl Kruger, skipper of the Gretchen. He was a stage actor in Australia and Britain before beginning his screen career with Path Frères, Paris in 1910. He would remain active until his death in 1953. A few weeks before this movie was released, his wife Blanche was killed in a car collision in the Hollywood Hills. Johnson also cast 2 members of the PN's original crew to act in the motion picture. They would portray the same roles in the movie they held when they served in the original's crew flight, i.e. Squalls Rolf Pope as the navigation pilot and Otto G. Stunt's chief radio operator. Get ready for an exciting exploration as we unravel the mysteries of director. In 1923, Emilie and Emory Johnson signed a contract extension with FBO. The agreement stipulated Emory was to make 8 attractions for FBO. The agreement stipulated that his previous 4 films would count toward the total. FBO also agreed to invest $2.5 million in today's money on the remaining 4 films. The final 4 films would all be Gold Bond releases, i.e. big-budget films. The March 1926 release of The Non-Stop Flight was the 8th film directed by Johnson for FBO. Johnson's FBO contract was satisfied with the March 1926 release. It would turn out to be Emory and Emilie Johnson's last film for FBO. In April 1926, FBO decided to let Emory and Emilie Johnson's contracts expire. No reasons were cited. Emory Johnson, the master of melodrama, king of exploitation and hero of the working-class movie-making career, was not over. In June 1926, Johnson and his mother signed a new 8-picture deal with Universal. Emory Johnson would continue to direct 5 more films before his career faded. During his movie career, Johnson directed 13 films, of which 11 were silent and 2 were talkies. Let's now venture into the realm of screenplay and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. Emilie Johnson penned a story and screenplay. She was born on June 3, 1867, in Gothenburg, Strickland, Sweden. After emigrating to America, she married Alfred Johnson. Their only son was born in 1894, Alfred Emory Johnson. The Non-Stop Flight was the 20th story developed by Emilie Johnson. It would become the 9th story her son, Emory Johnson, picked up for production. After finishing the story, she would go on to create the screenplay. This story fascinated her because it tells the story of a Swedish sea captain. The story also originates in her native homeland of Sweden. Emilie Johnson was 59 years old when she completed the story and the screenplay. Emilie Johnson intertwined her story around the original flight, so it seems the flight is a central theme. In truth, PN's flight becomes secondary to the sea captain's plot. Hopeful the flight details remained fresh in the public's mind, the story and screenplay were rushed to production. After completing the Non-Stop Flight, Emilie Johnson would write the story for her son's next production, the March 1927 Universal release of The Fourth Commandment. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of filming as we examine its impact and relevance. Johnson got permission from the United States Navy to use the actual PN-901 flying boat in his movie. Besides using the original plane, he also got the complete cooperation of the U.S. Navy in making this photoplay. The Navy not only allowed Johnson to film flying scenes but paraded the entire battle fleet consisting of dreadnoughts, destroyers, and submarines for Emory to film. Johnson publicly denied published reports he intended to make his film a political weapon. Johnson suppressed rumors that he made specific arrangements with the Naval Department for their full endorsement. Johnson also squelched rumors the production had any significance in the aviation controversy concerning Colonel Billy Mitchell in Washington. Johnson addressed these rumors by stating, "Let's now turn our attention to locations and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table." Principal photography and exteriors were shot in San Diego, California. Closing shots were filmed in San Francisco, California. Aerial photography was shot over the Pacific Ocean with the complete cooperation of the United States Navy. The final edited version consisted of 6 reels and ran approximately 71 minutes. Without wasting any more time, let's jump into the fascinating world of post-production. Post-production is a crucial step in filmmaking, transforming the raw footage into the finished product. It requires skilled professionals working together to create a film that meets the director's vision and engages audiences. Brace yourself for a captivating discussion on official release as we explore its nuances and implications. On April 12, 1926, the film was copyrighted to R.C. Roberts and Cole Pictures Corporation. The copyrights for FBO films were registered with their original British owners. FBO was the official name of the film distributing operation for Roberts and Cole Pictures Corporation. Joseph P. Kennedy's sister would clear this up later. The film was released on March 28, 1926, by Film Booking Offices of America. In the upcoming portion, we'll be dissecting advertising to gain a comprehensive understanding of its implications. This film's advertising campaign showed a lackluster effort by FO's standards when compared to previous Emory Johnson films. Innovative advertising and exploitation had become a brand of Emory Johnson's productions for FBO. The advertising campaign for this movie was not innovative. It did not pioneer any novel techniques in the art of film promotion. It lacked imaginative advertising and exploitation. Emory's films earned him the moniker as the master of melodrama. Emory's other title, King of Exploitation, was mainly because of his association with FO's exploitation genius director of publicity, advertising, and exploitation Nat Rothstein. These are some of the suggestions for advertising this film. Movie houses could hire airplanes to fly over the theater, dropping parachutes bearing a ticket number that entitled finders to a pair of seats in the theater or merchandise. Greenhouses could create paper seaplanes and hang them in their lobbies along with scores of balloons. If a U.S. Navy post was nearby, the theater owner should try to enlist their cooperation in publicizing the film. Advertise the thrills each viewer will experience when watching the movie. Ensure the newspaper emphasized how Commander Rogers and his crew almost lost their lives on this adventure. Emphasize the film used the actual U.S. Navy PN-9 no seaplane. These were conventional advertising techniques for the 20s. Now it's time to shift gears and explore critical response. Movie reviews were critical opinions for theater owners and fans. Critiques of movies printed in different trade journals were vital in determining whether to book or watch the movie. Movie critics' evaluations of this film were mixed, i.e., most small-town venues enjoyed the movie, but the larger cities were not swept up in the film's melodrama and patriotism. When critics have divergent reviews, deciding whether to see or book the movie can be challenging, especially since mixed reviews do not mean it is a bad movie. Ultimately, it boils down to personal choices and how much value you place on the movie review and the reviewer. Michael L. Simmons reviewed the film in the May 1, 1926 issue of the film Daly. With their admiration for the heroic crew still warm in the hearts of Americans, is timely. However, in strong contrast to the authenticity of the scenes showing the seaplane in flight is the flagrantly fictitious element in the story. Dignified treatment of the subject and the desire to provide sensational episodes were disregarded. The romance element is somewhat anemic, the production's fault being the mellow thrills that work up to a smashing climax. For the more gullible audiences, where they like the melodrama in thick slices, this will more than satisfy. Fred reviewed the movie in the July 7, 1926 issue of the Variety. Melodrama built around the non-stop flight that the USN flyers made from San Francisco to Hawaii. It's just a hoke mela that will, for the better part, carry in some of the smaller grindhouses but isn't suited for a longer run, except where it comes in on a double feature bill. The non-stop flight is worked into a picture through the Navy Emmen coming down near the island so that the tramp steamer affects the rescue of them as well as the castaways. Just a dash of patriotic stuff to fill in with the mellow stuff. Much sea stuff and the Newsweekly stuff or the original hop-off, together with some fill-in shots, well matched up. M.T. Andrews reviewed the photoplay in the April 27, 1926 issue of the Motion Picture News. It was inevitable that one of the most colorful incidents of current times should find its way to the screen. Emilie Johnson wrote a story of drama and venture into the Great Ocean Passage. The plot is not altogether plausible or commensurate with the main theme, which deserved more dignified treatment. After an exceptionally fine first reel, the director shows flashes of skill and introduces characters, the action slackens. Offers remarkably fine views of Navy seaplane PN-9. weaves in not particularly strong romance, but there are enough mellow thrills to keep the interest alive. Will please the average fan. Suitable for neighborhoods and smaller houses. Let's now shift gears and explore audience response through a critical lens, uncovering its strengths and weaknesses. FBO focused on producing and distributing films for small-town venues. They served this market melodramas, non-Western action pictures, and comedic shorts. These movie house reviews were critical for a distributor like FBO. Unlike many of the major Hollywood studios, FBO did not own its own set of theaters. Like most independents, FBO was dependent on the movie house owners to rent their films for the company to show a profit. These are brief published observations from movie house owners. Theater owners would subscribe to various movie magazines, read the movie critics' reviews, then read the theater owners' reports. These reviews would assist them in deciding if the film was a potential money-maker in their venue. David City, Nebraska, population 2,250. Star cast. Very nice entertainment. Plenty of excitement. Tone good. Sunday or special, number appeal 75%. Draw general class. Melville, Louisiana, population 1,000. All-star cast, but all the stars were unknown. One of FBO Gold Bonds, and it is Pippin for those who like melodrama. Plenty of good acting and the worlds of action, with several thrills that make them sit up in their seats. Some splendid photographic shots from an airplane. Little town men, this pie is made for you to serve. Sunday, yes, special, not quite. Appeal, very strong. Draw all types. Lubbock, Texas, population 10,000. Star cast. Excellent picture. We did big business on this picture. You can't go wrong by booking this picture. Full house both days and everyone pleased. Rochester, Pennsylvania, population 7,000. A very good melodrama, but the scenario is very poorly constructed. Great for Saturdays. The paper is very good. The title should pull them inch tone okay. Good appeal. Dry mix class. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting preservation status and exploring its intricate connections to our topic. Many silent era films did not survive for reasons as explained on this Wikipedia page. According to the Library of Congress American Silent Feature Film Survival Database, this film is extant. The film's original length is listed at 6 reels. The film was converted to DVD and released on December 10, 2019. The film is widely available from multiple vendors. Let's now turn our attention to PN9 Fate and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. After the flight, Commander John Rogers was rewarded with an assignment as the Assistant Chief of Bureau of Aeronautics. Rogers would later die in a plane crash on August 27, 1926. The date was almost a year after completing his historic flight. He was 45 at the time of his death. PN9, after completing the first non-stop attempt to Hawaii, the seaplane was repaired and returned to service. Emory Johnson used the craft to make his epic film. Later in the year, the seaplane attempted to make another non-stop flight to South America. In an encore, engine problems again forced the airplane to make a forced sea landing in the Caribbean. The crew drifted for several days before being rescued. In his book No Margin for Error, author Dwight Messmer points out the fate of the PN901 after the Caribbean incident because the towing distance to shore was too great. The plane was ignobly sunk by gunfire as a hazard to navigation. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting Gallery and exploring its intricate connections to our topic. Crew of PN901 commanded by Commander John Rogers. Bekommelgult. Byron J. Commel Egstance Opgunk Otis G. Stance Spoke Spiskales are Pope Rowling McWilliam M. Bolin. Players, Director. Cecil Ogden and Virginia Fry. The non-stop flight op Cecil Ogden and Virginia Fry. Knute Erickson. The non-stop flight op Knute Erickson. Toshi Emory. New movie op Toshi Emory as extra uncredited. Peggy O'Neill. Connative Peggy O'Neill. Robert Anderson. 1919. Robert Anderson as Knute Swanson. Marcella Daly and Lieutenant op Marcella Daly. James Rolfe Rock, Mayor of San Francisco as himself. Emory Johnson op Emory Johnson, director and producer. Remember to follow me on social media for behind-the-scenes content and updates.